So when we know that somebody has pronounced some hypothesis about how we behave and we read about it, then that knowledge influences our behavior. That's because we interpret all the time knowledge, and therefore we can contaminate the evidence on which the knowledge was derived at point A in time, because at point B in time, once I know you've derived some hypothesis about my behavior, I may either behave in a way that confirms the hypothesis consciously, or I may behave in a way that counters that hypothesis of view, also consciously, or maybe unconsciously. So it's very difficult to, in the social sciences, while we may use some of the methods of the natural sciences, experimentation, falsification, and so on, we must be mindful that we are dealing with human beings. And when we are dealing with human beings, we have to have a special understanding of how different parts of human behavior come together. So, we act as economic actors, we act as political actors, we act as social actors with one another, and all of this are interconnected. And to differentiate this in terms of, I will study the economic man, I will study the political person, I will study the social behavior of human beings as an anthropologist, is narrowing down your focus. It's like approaching an elephant. There's a famous fable from India of the blind men who encountered an elephant and tried to describe what the elephant was. And so the one held on to the trunk and felt the trunk and its rough skin, which felt like the bark of a tree, and proclaimed the elephant is like a tree. And another held on to the tail, which is thin and narrow and has a tuft, and thought that this is something like a snake. And somebody got hold of the ears and felt that these were PANKAJ's big fans. So each of them gave a different description, missing out what the entire elephant was all about, right? So the analogy is something like that. So if you only study at the undergraduate level, the one discipline, and do not get insights from other disciplines, you might have a very limited or a narrow view of what it is you want to understand and study. So with this reason that we wanted an integrated understanding of social science to be taught to students, because that's what is the need for policymakers. If policymakers go only by, say, the advice of epidemiologists, which our government did when the pandemic started, we were a bit slow. The pandemic was announced sometime in I think officially announced by the WHO in early March, but we didn't impose the lockdown till a little later. But when we did it, the epidemiologist said you must ask people to stay at home and minimize contact between human beings to limit the spread of the virus, the coronavirus, which is a variant of an earlier virus which was called SARS. It's a respiratory disease that it causes. But then, when the Prime Minister said, stay at home, don't go anywhere, and stay safe, minimize contact with other people, he overlooked that a demographer would have advised the government that millions of people are not at home to stay at home. They are working somewhere else. They are residing on factory premises where they are working, or they are in farms. They've come from Orissa or Bihar and are working in farms in Punjab. And so they are not at home. And the psychologists could have told the government that whenever people encounter something that is a danger to their lives, that might cause serious illness, they want to be with their family. They don't want to be far away from their family. The anxiety is that you should reach your family as soon as possible. Now, because the decision was made on the basis of epidemiological advice, which is fine, but it neglected social science advice. Social science advice would have been, first, determine how many migrant workers are there. Second, enable these migrant workers to return to their homes by providing even more transport and rail transport and bus transport to facilitate that movement very quickly, and then say that everybody could stay at home. Now, because social science insights were neglected, we saw a very sad situation where all transport had been shut down and migrant workers began to walk towards their homes, which was more than 1,000 miles away in many cases. So what this shows, this particular narrative that I'm giving you, shows that it's very important to get insights and knowledge from multiple disciplines that study human behavior, that are pertinent to how human beings behave. And therefore, it's important at the first stage of your university education, you get a good grounding in social science as such. That's why we are using the singular for this program. We are saying social science and policy, because, obviously there are, by different counts, there could be 15 or even 20 social sciences. The law is also regarded as a social science in some cases, anthropology, psychology, linguistics. All of these may be classified as that. The humanities are generally about literature, languages, art, music. Those are classified as humanities. And we, in this program, do not teach humanities. We teach social science. And so it is like a liberal arts education, but without the humanities element in it. And it's more applied. It's meant for practical application. The knowledge that you get in this program is meant to be useful in making decisions about what should be done by way of policy. And so you also get an early introduction in this program to what is policy and what is policy making and why is policy important, right? Now, policy is really any set of rules that determine or guide the behavior of people, right? So you could have a policy at home that you will switch off all gadgets at some point in the evening and read a book, right? Instead of looking at a screen continuously, you should start reading a book at some point. That policy may be laid down by your parents. Now, you may or may not follow it, but that's another matter. But it's a policy, right? So a club could have a policy, a university could have a policy, any group of, if you had just the one friend, between the two of you, you may say, let's have a policy that, we alternate visits to each other's homes. That's a policy, right? Because that's how you will behave following that policy. But public policy is something that only the government does, and all public policy is backed by law. It needs the authority of law, and it is meant to, help human behavior. So the traffic light is a policy. You have a policy that says when the light is red, you stop, and the light is green, you move, right? Now, this is a policy that is probably honored more in the breach than in its observance in our country, but that's not the point. Why is the policy there? Because if you followed that policy, if everybody followed that policy, traffic will flow smoothly. You will not get traffic jams. If you don't follow that policy, you will get traffic jams. And traffic jams will be annoying, will delay, will prevent people who need emergency care from reaching the hospital in time, may prevent a student from reaching the venue of an examination in time, may prevent a person from reaching an appointment for an interview for a job and may lose the job. There are all sorts of consequences that might follow if you don't follow a simple thing like the traffic lights and the policy related to it. And it's also to understand how to make people behave in a way without kind of ordering them, right? See, you have to internalize the reason for the policy. You must understand why is there the policy. And because we are thinking people, once we know there's a particular reason, we will be persuaded. But if you don't give a reason and you simply say, I'm going to block the road, will not permit traffic on this road, and nobody tells you why, or very often it happens in flights, the flight is delayed, but the pilot will not tell the passengers why it is delayed. Now, if only the passengers knew why it is delayed, they'll understand. But if you're not told why it's delayed and hours and the clock keeps ticking by, it only leads to irritation and annoyance, right? So it's important that you communicate the purpose of a policy as to why you have the policy. You may get it right. Sometimes you may get the policy right. Sometimes you may get it wrong. Sometimes you may be able to make people behave in an unconscious way that serves the policy purpose. So since we are started with the traffic analogy, if you put a sign on the side of the road saying look right, with an arrow pointing right, instinctively, almost without thinking, reflexively, people will look right. And when they do look right, then they can see the oncoming traffic, right? Now, if that sign wasn't there, you may just cross the road without bothering to look right. And it may well be that you are crossing the road at a risky point where there's a motor vehicle much too close to you to be able to stop in time and prevent hitting you, right? So this simple thing is in behavioral economics, what I just described is called a nudge. It's just to suggest something subliminally. It's like advertising. Advertisement is also something that makes you, whenever you are looking at something else unrelated, Google and Facebook and Twitter plant advertisements on your screen because they have algorithms that have looked at your behavior. What did you order from Amazon? What are the kinds of things you look on YouTube? And then they have a map of the kind of person you are, and they think that you'll buy something, right? So this is a very modern, advanced technology. It uses artificial intelligence to influence our behavior, to make us buy things. So it's like advertising. It's also a bit worrisome because it manipulates your choices. But these are the policy implications. But all these policies, including the people who design artificial intelligence algorithms, need to understand human psychology, human behavior. And in economics, you will learn something that's called elasticity. When price rises, you think twice about buying something. But the extent to which the price rise will affect your behavior is not the same in every group. It may change from person to person. So these are insights, like the discovery or the understanding of price elasticity in economics or comparative advantage in economics, or the importance of the margin, the last thing that you buy or the last thing that you produce. Why is that important? All these insights give you a more full understanding of people, human beings in society. And that's what we've endeavored to do in this program. And so consciously we have tried to avoid as far as possible mentioning in the program, in each of the courses, the discipline. I mean, it would be predominantly about economics, but we don't want to label it economics, right? Because we are labeling it social science. We want an integrated understanding. The other thing I have to say is that you can, it's in my case, for instance, I studied economics and only economics for 5 years. 3 years of undergraduate honors, 2 years of MA economics. And at that point, I felt I pretty much knew all of economics that I wanted to know. And I wasn't going to go and make fundamental discoveries in the subject and advance the frontiers of knowledge in economics. But I was curious about other fields of knowledge, right? So when I got the opportunity at Oxford, I studied politics. Right now, after 5 years of economics, I spent 3 years studying politics, and I got very interested in law. And in Cambridge, I spent a lot of time, many years studying constitutional law, all sequentially, right? Now, so I ended up spending 15 years in the university in an effort to get a more holistic understanding of the kind that we have consciously designed for you in this program. You don't have to spend 15 years of your life in universities to learn what I learned. In the BA Social Science and Policy program, you can learn pretty much nearly, not entirely, but a great deal of what I learned by studying disciplines one after the other. It's important to study them together. So if you study disciplines sequentially, what you're doing is you're acquiring what is called multidisciplinary knowledge. Economics and then politics. And then in India, people like to do that sort of thing. And some people have visiting cards that is like an accordion, that you open it like that, and then you have multiple degrees. They are kind of obsessed with earning one degree after another. That is a bit of an extreme case, but people do that because they want to learn, right? Now, interdisciplinary learning is when you integrate insights from multiple disciplines at the same time. You're not saying in the morning I will study economics and in the afternoon I will study politics. Whenever you're studying something where insights from politics and insights from economics and sociology are all brought to bear. Now that kind of education is called interdisciplinary, right? It is not multidisciplinary, it is interdisciplinary. Now there are some advanced courses which you might call transdisciplinary. In other words, they transcend these disciplines. The knowledge that is uncovered in those kinds of advanced courses goes beyond what is known in the existing disciplines, right? So it transcends disciplines. And that is the frontier of knowledge, in fact. As knowledge advances, we need more and more transdisciplinary understanding of people in societies. So therefore, the consequence of not having had this rounded education all over the world, not just in India, is that decision makers may get influenced by just the one discipline. For instance, investment bankers think that their main discipline for them is economics. And they relied on economists, two of them who won the Nobel Prize actually in economics. And there was a third whose views were opposite of the ones who won the Nobel Prize. So there's a saying that if you have two economists in the room, you'll have three opinions. They relied on these economists and worked and developed a market for what are called derivatives, which is a way of spreading risk. If you start with a bad loan, if you lend money to a person to buy a house, knowing really that that person is not in a position to repay the loan in time, but you still lent the money and you're going to earn interest, but that person may default. So what you then do is to say, I'll sell this loan that I've made to this person to another company, right? It's like taking an insurance. You spread the risk. But if you do this, and all the investment banks began doing this, and they ended up, because the chicken will come home to roost, A bad loan is a bad loan, no matter how you try to cover it up through a process of derivatives and the spreading of risks. And you had the 2008 financial crisis, and people said, oh, why didn't these economists predict this? Why didn't they see this coming? Well, that's because social sciences are very good at explaining things after they have happened, but are not so good at predicting something that will happen. And one of the insights that you get by doing this course is to understand what is the real value of social science. When should you rely upon it? When should you be humble and not think that I can predict, right? You can, for instance, by doing statistics and studying different forms of distribution in statistics, different kinds of probabilities, you can say how many people will die on the roads of Delhi in 2021. And you'll be pretty accurate about it. You won't be able to say where those accidents will happen, or who will die, or how they will die, but you can, because of the nature of regularities in human behavior and large numbers, you can get a fairly accurate idea of what would happen, which is what is done in meteorology, in predicting the monsoon, and so on. These are the techniques. And that's because there's a lot of regularity in human life. You know, people go to sleep and wake up and, you know, get married and have children and look for jobs and all that sort of a thing. So because there are lots of regularities in human life, you can plot those regularities, you can understand something. But then there's also an inherent element in human beings, which is important for us because it's our sense of freedom. We think we have free will. Now, philosophically, you may doubt whether we have free will, and everything is ordained and dictated by karma. So the moment you're born, the rest of your life is all charted out, and you don't know that. You're just living it, and you think you have free will. Now, that's a philosophical viewpoint. But nonetheless, the important thing is, I think that, you know, I may raise my right hand or I may raise my left hand, and you will not be able to predict which hand I will raise because it's up to me, and that's my sense of freedom. And therefore, you must make an allowance for getting things wrong when you're dealing with people and human beings. And therefore, you must have a certain humility about what knowledge you have and so on. So these are the sorts of things we want to emphasize. This is not too many courses in the world are like this. There are some courses that are exactly called social science and policy in Australia and some in the United States, but they are not very popular. You see, people don't understand that this is the way forward. This is the course you must take for the future, because the integrated knowledge is what the future demands from you, not narrow specializations in one or the other subject. And therefore, I'd say I want to congratulate all of you who've been adventurous enough to pick a course that's not very common. That's not the beaten track. It's it's the road that is less traveled by. But those are the more adventurous roads. Those are the roads that will give you the joy of discovery and learning. And so with those words, I welcome you to this program. I'm happy that you are few in number, because the quality of education and the quality of interaction you can have with your faculty will be obviously more than if you had 100 or 200 students in the class dealing with faculty, right? So this is you're getting something like a very exclusive, expensive Oxbridge kind of education in Oxford and Cambridge, where I studied in both universities. You did tutorials, and often it was one-on-one. It was like the Gurukula system of ancient India. The master and the teacher and nobody else. Or you may have two persons, right, at the most. And so if it's 10, 12, it's a good number to have a very good education. So you mustn't feel, oh, we are so few in the class. The advantage of being so few in the class is you will get much more out of your class time than if you were in a class with 200 students. So with those words, I'll stop. And I have my colleague Milindo Chakravarti. He's again one of those persons who is genuinely interdisciplinary in the way he thinks and teaches. and he helped shape this program to a large extent. And I'd request him to say a few words to complement what I've been describing to you is the nature of this particular program. Milindo.
Thank you, Dean, and welcome, my dear students, to this program. We are very happy to have you with us while we will be taking a journey towards understanding social science instead of social sciences in its different forms, as Dean Sudarshan mentioned to you. I would just like you to be clarified about a particular issue which is at the center of this program. You see, when any individual is operating in a society, he or she simultaneously takes, to be very broad enough, three types of decisions. Number one, what to buy, what to produce, what to consume, and what should be the price and how to react to that. These are called the economic decisions. But simultaneously, if you happen to be in India, of course, it will be clear that simultaneously the same person decides which party to vote for, which party to join if there is an opportunity to join a political process, which party should come to power in the process of governance in a democracy like ours. And these decisions are political decisions. And it is not enough. An individual also takes a decision as to what his or her behavior would be towards others, often in terms of the religion, the language, the sort of social understanding, the color of the skin maybe, gender. So these factors also guide him or her to take some decisions which we call social decisions. And if you bring them in terms of the dominant domains of social sciences, you will find that the first type of decisions are discussed in economics, the second type of decisions are discussed in political science, and the third type of decisions are discussed in what we call sociology. There are some other social sciences also, which Professor Sudarshan mentioned, psychology, anthropology. You will find that ultimately the behavior of an individual, all these decisions are also dependent on his or her psychological position, his behavior, his or her behavioral attitudes, and so on and so forth. So the moment we try to differentiate and distinguish between sociology, politics, economics, and other social sciences, we made a great mistake. We made a great mistake because we tried to divide an individual into several parts. One part is which takes the economic decision, another part is which takes the social decision, and the other part is which takes the political decision. But in reality, a human being takes all these decisions simultaneously, and his or her economic decisions are influenced by her political position and political decision and social decisions as well. Just to take the case of the farm law that was introduced and that created a huge furor, you will find that when you have a close look at it, you will find that all components, political components, social components, and economic components got interlinked when someone joined the agitation on the one hand, or when someone opposed the agitation on the other. So each individual either supporting it or going against it simultaneously mixed up their political values, their social values, and their economic values together. And when we tried to develop this course or program on BA Social Science and Policy, we were very, very cautious and careful that the program will be such that we will let our students understand as to how the economic decision of an individual is influenced by his or her political and social decisions, and simultaneously how his social decisions, whether to be to generate hatred across religion or caste or language or other identities, gender, is also dependent on economic positions, is also dependent on political positions you take. Take the case of farm law. The farmers, those who are agitating, they were agitating because of some economic reasons. But the agitation itself took a political shape in the form of an agitation. And now some of the farmer leaders are also talking about whether to plunge into politics in the name of the farmers. And if you have a look at the earlier understanding or discussions on farm laws, you would find that at one point of time it was said it was an agitation by Punjabi speaking people. Then it was said that it was an agitation joined by the Jat people. So the social identities and differentials also came into the picture when if you look at the farm law in its complete entirety. So this is the fundamental basis and philosophy behind development of this program. And we have been very, very careful, as Dean Sudarshan rightly mentioned, that this understanding of interlinkage should not be done in the vacuum within the four walls of a classroom. You have to be also made aware of what's happening at the ground level. That's why we have integrated over this entire 3-year period at least 5 internship opportunities for you. And to make sure that we operate at a group level, all students, so far we had smaller groups, but at least groups in 5 or 6 are sent to one organization so that they can work together and learn about the real life situation in a group, so that they can also appreciate the interlinkage across these different domains of social sciences in understanding a particular issue and convert that into a policy problem and find a solution to that. Last year, the first batch that joined, they did an internship with an organization looking into the environmental and ecological issues called Foundation for Ecological Security. This summer, their Foundation for Ecological Security is located in Gujarat in a city called Anand. This right now, they are doing an internship with an organization called Global Solutions Initiative located in Berlin. They are writing summaries of some of the documents produced by them, first into English, and then the idea is to translate them into several Indian languages according to the language capability of the students. So this year we have students who can speak and write Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam and Hindi. So we'll be having 4 translated versions of those summaries which can be shared with the common people for their understanding and for their absorption. So the program as it has been designed has both its theoretical, conceptual component and also a very important and integrated practical component where you get an opportunity to apply what you have learned in the classrooms into the real life situation. So I welcome you all. I congratulate you all for taking this decision to join this program. Though it is, as Dean said, it's a little adventurous, but I am sure at the end of the day, as you know, if you have followed economics, there is a diminishing marginal utility. So here, the diminishing marginal productivity as well. So as you are talking about only 4 or 5 or 6 students in a group, the productivity would be at its very best, at its highest level and increasing. So with this positive note, I again welcome you and congratulate you. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dean.
Thank you. I think invite Dean PANKAJ GUPTA to talk to these students. They are, as you said, adventurous and brave to take a program that is not commonplace, but which is going to be very innovative. Dean.
Hello, am I audible, Dean Sudarshan?
Yes, you are, and visible.
Okay. Yeah. Namaskar, namaskar. And thank you very much, Dean Sudarshan, for this opportunity. And I'd like to also welcome all the students and my colleagues over here. I have always have my greatest regards for Dean Sudarshan. And whenever I meet any senior bureaucrat, they always tell, "Oh, you have Dean Sudarshan." Uh, and in fact, some people came from UGC and, the UGC chairman, so they complimented Professor Raj. Oh, you're able to retain Professor Sudarshan. So I know that the students are very fortunate to have a dean and great faculty members who are here. And Dean Sudarshan also mentioned very clearly that, what is social science, what is natural science, what is the difference, and multidisciplinary and many things, how it can, shape up, you can shape up as a better human being. And then he also mentioned about the Gurukula system also, which is always very close to my heart. Though I've been always a professor of finance and accounting, I got Fulbright to study in the University of Washington in Seattle. And but of late, I got a lot of interest in meditation, mindfulness, inner journey, and happiness courses like that. So I believe that for a long time I have devoted on the avidya. Now I want to focus on vidya, and the vidya is always like savidyata vimukta. But anyway, Dean and also the Melandoji have already clarified about the entire course, so I don't want to go there. But I would like to share one thing with you that whether we look at the formula or the other thing, it is all about building a sort of the consensus and the taking people into confidence is very very important. So what we have done in OCS, we have now started having a very direct dialogue at first level with the deans and faculty members, and at the other level directly with the students and the student council. Because question is that you need to tell people where we stand, and from that level where we have to reach and how we can partner in going there. Because all the time otherwise there would be situation, oh, you have not done this, or maybe sometime you are doing your best, but that best may not be good enough for them or for anyone. So always you co-create programs, and you also create milestones that this is what we'll do this quarter, this is what we'll do in this quarter. Then you come openly and share what you have done, what are the learning from that experience, and what is the agenda for the next quarter. So this is how we have been now working in OCS, where each and every meeting is recorded, minuted, then we make action taken reports. We also make the monthly reports. So I'm not trying to say that I'm a bureaucratic in nature or my team is like that. What we would like to do to make everything very open and transparent. And we will also discuss with you what are your career aspirations, because there are many different ways you can go. Our Honorable Dean and also Vice Chancellor always tells us that at the undergrad level, a student should not take job after undergraduation. They should complete their masters. And whether you do it from India or you go abroad, that is up to you. But if there is somebody who want to say, okay, I want to work in a consulting firm, and then I want to go abroad, even that is also okay. But you should, like what Stephen Covey used to say, that begin with the end in mind. So like you are here, so you say, okay, after 3 years, where and how can I go there? And also many of your decisions, like where you want to go and which company you want to work, is also dependent a lot of time on other people's influence. Sometimes your father will tell, oh, my lovely daughter, if you go there, I'll feel very happy. Sometimes without realizing whether that is meant for her or not. Or maybe you see your cousin going some career track. So that is what we say as prabhav. Like you're taking decision under certain influence. Second is abhav, where you feel that certain thing is missing in me. So therefore, in order to do that, I need to do this. So what is my humble advice to you is that wherever you are working under abhav and prabhav, try to be conscious about it. You see that these are conditionings which you cannot erase in one go. Many times you will feel that this is my idea, but it is actually not your idea. Over a period of time, maybe you all must be late teens or maybe early 20s. So many times you have a very strong idea that it is my idea, but actually let me tell you, it is not your idea. And if at all when we meet in person and if I'm able to do some workshop for you, like ancient wisdom workshop or who am I workshop, then you will see there are so many layers which are gone into your subconscious. And then you will say, oh yes, it is not my idea. It was somebody I saw, it was doing like this, I got influenced, and so I decided to have that career goal. So we will help you with that as well. And I'll be requesting my colleague Himlata Sharma ji also, who will be giving you more insights as to what are the different career options. And we do take care of our students. That is all I can tell you. We will definitely make sure that you are getting 5 internships. And but if these internships are aligned, not, or maybe if you want to say that, okay, I want to do NGO, I want to do with, Niti Aayog, I want to be a shadow with a minister. So even that plan can also be there. And you need not make that plan right now. You also see the situation, certain subject, you will feel interested. So you can go towards that. So that is how you'll be moving away from abhav and prabhav to swabhav. And with, swabhav will come the swadharma. When you talk about, Dean Sudarshan mentioned about the ancient time, and that is what, when you talk about Arjuna, he was a very good person with the bow and arrow, and he found that natural talent and he was nurtured for that. Bhim, was trained in Gada ways. So you look into your natural gift, and accordingly you make your strategy rather than trying to follow somebody else's path. So that is my suggestion. And also sometimes you will see that there is so much of impact of marketing and social media and films in our life. Be mindful about it. And do take care of yourself is very important. Fill yourself with a lot of self-love and self-acceptance. That is going to help you. Try to find some time for inner journey, meditation or yoga, or even running and gymming. So that will give you even more clarity as to what you want and why you want it. So these are few suggestions, and marketing people will do, but sometimes you will create an impression, as if the government is very caring, they're taking care of the Aam Admi or poor Admi, but that all are very election gimmicks. I do not, I'm connected with so many ministers, but when I talk to them, sometimes they are so broken from inside. Let me tell you, one of the very senior central minister, I would not like to name him because I've held position like CEO, group CEO, director general. So I was interacting with these kind of people. Sometimes I have to invite them for convocation and like that. So that guy was, so much lamenting. Oh, he was mentioning about one very, big bull of Indian politics. He has taken a lot of papers from me, blank paper with my signature. And I do not know what will happen to those blank papers. So everybody is, in a different game altogether, but you have to see what difference you can make. While you are here, there is a place known as Jatheri near our university. I've been associated since 2015 over here. In my first stint, I was here for 3 years. And then I went as a president of a university. Then I came back because JGU is a great place. I feel every day so happy and delighted that and feel proud that I'm part of JGU. But that problem remains that water logging in Jatheri, and whenever you come, even if you get your car, serviced, the moment you go there, there is a truck coming over there that will splash on your car and like that. So I'll be feeling that way that my students who have such a great guru like Dean Sudarshan, uh, you must try to solve local problems over here and make an impact. You must be connected to maybe Sonipat MP or MLA, and people say, oh, this problem, let me go to JSGP. There is Ayush over there, there's, the Pankudi over there. So you have to build your own brand. So I often say that rather than having any kind of, the Meena Kumari attitude that मैं दुखिया बेचारी दुनिया की मारी देखो लोगों ने कितना सताया, from that thing you have to move to the Eklavya attitude that the buck stop with me. If there is anything to be done, it is me who is responsible. And believe me, the greatest happiness you get जैसे कोई बच्चा रो रहा है उसके आंसू पोछो उसको help करो. And maybe I'll also request that at least 10% of your time you should do for others, because in that way you will be only helping yourself and creating good right karma. You'll feel happy. Then you'll go to a virtuous cycle. Do not think only I, me, myself kind of a role. You see, I'm a professor. I can keep talking, but I'm mindful of time. So I will stop over here. And I would like to say one more thing that the height of economic prosperity was in our golden age when India was known as Sone Ki Chidiya. Uh, Hemlata ji, am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir.
Okay, okay. Because once I was giving a talk to the French CEOs in Paris, and I was talking, and then I realized my, PPT was not working, and they were just still smiling. Later, I realized, I was talking in English, and they were not knowing English. They all knew only French. So it is always good to, take feedback. So what I would like to say that when the India was like a Sone Ki Chidiya, at that time, what was a mantra towards money? It was like this, कि गौधन गजधन बाजधन और रतन धन खान, but जब आवे संतोष धन सब धन धूरी समान. That you have elephant capital, cow capital, eagle capital, and so many precious stones. But when you have the satisfaction capital, all the other things are not even worth mentioning. So at that time, you were at the height of, and you look at the India and China, they were controlling 53% of the world GDP at that time. And currently we are at just around 3%. So we can get there. But the concept of self is very important, where you feel I am sufficient. And with those lot of, slavery and other, the British Raj, we have lost a lot of confidence in ourselves. So love yourself, have confidence in you, focus on your Subhav and Swadharma, and the Office of Career Services will not fail in their duty in providing you the right opportunities over there. So be a lamp to your life. That was the passing last word of Buddha. So with this, I want to conclude my small talk. And I would like to once again thank Dean Sudarshan that he gave me this golden opportunity. And I also noted that Dean Sudarshan speak different in all address. I attended, it is the third lecture I'm attending from Dean Sudarshan, but he always speak fresh things. So, I was tempted to speak something which I spoke in 2 talks, but I decided I will, try to follow my leader. So thank you very much, Dean, and all colleagues and Hemlata ji. So over to Hemlata ji now. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Dean, and thank you, PANKAJ, for
We'll leave a little time for some interactions with the students.
Yes.
So Hema, you'll be a bit brief.
Yes, sir. So mainly I am representing the OCS JSGP school at this point in time, and I would like to mention that with my experience of working in with my masters in sociology as one of my courses, I have served in a few of the development sector organizations. So something which I would like to to share in with the students at this point in time is when we were working with the
Speak a
social
little
sector.
closer to the mic. You're a bit faint. Yeah.
Is it better, sir?
Yeah. I mean to speak into the microphone. Yeah. Thanks.
So mainly what I'm trying to say here is that in the development sector with my masters in sociology, so we used to experience a lot of the challenges, but because there was not a policy hat, we were never able to have an inclusion into changing the policy. So with this bachelor's in social sciences and policy, you are having actually two hats together. A, you are trying to understand the kind of challenges, and you also have the ability and chance to just discuss it with the policy makers and bring the changes to the policy. So this is very important kind of a mix of the course curriculum which is being given to you guys as very lucky, I would say here, that you got a chance to be part of this mix and the inclusion. So, guys, what is actually Office of Career Services wanted you to attain? Oh, so we want you to. It's more of a holistic approach which we have. It's more of a development across. Trying to understand and bring together kind of a clarity in your future planning, right? So, as Professor Milindo mentioned that you might incline to do your masters in India and abroad, or you want to have a clarity in the kind of sectors you want to choose in further in your masters. So what does actually OCS does? So we do a lot of career development exercises and career development sessions. It includes more of the soft skills and the mock interviews and all of that. We take you to a lot of career counseling sessions. We have mentoring exercises um, which are with your alumni, so you will hear a lot with them. We have the industry interactions and the networking events where you will also get a chance to hear it from a policymaker, somebody who is sitting in a ministry. Let's just hear it out from what he wants to mention. Then obviously there is a lot of coordination and the internship and the opportunities which will be shared across the batch, depending upon what are the kind of sectors and the organizations which you're choosing. As Professor Milindo has already mentioned that the first batch has done their summer internships in the Foundation for Ecological Security, and the winter is actually going around with the Global Solutions Berlin. So what we try again is that it's more of a the type of academically this kind of topics you are trained on. You choose the type of organizations, like you'll be going through a lot of course curriculum in the lectures on caste system, social sector, social structure, or demand and supply, or the political history, or behavioral sciences. So getting a feel from these organizations, how you implement it in these organizations would be a better practical experience. And yeah, so what we say is development sector is a kind of a smaller world. Guys. So the feedback into the organizations during your internships actually counts a lot. And we would really want you to be getting practical experience coming in from them and leaving a good feedback, so that later on you can certainly go back to the organizations and getting more clarity maybe, or different stakeholders where you are interacting with. So with that, I'll leave the forum to set of questions coming in from the students, and we are happy to answer. Over to PANKAJ and team.
Okay, Pankaj will take over.
Okay, Dean. Thank you. So, all dear students, if you have questions, please do ask and take it as a great opportunity.
There's only a handful of them, so.
Yeah. So yeah, please ask. Yeah, please ask your question.
Yes, sir.
Can we
First
see
of all,
you?
I would like.
Can you
Yeah,
turn on the
please.
video if possible?
D Teja, right? Okay, please ask question.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. First of all, I would like to say I'm very honored to have been accepted into the program. I'm sorry my camera is not working properly. I
All
have
right.
network issues.
All right, all right, all right. No problem.
Uh, yeah, sir. I just wanted to find out about why how did you get the idea of making such a different program? I've seen this available in a few foreign universities, but Indian universities have searched a lot. I couldn't find many universities which are offering this program. So I would like to know why and when did you get the idea of making such a program to make the future leaders of the country?
Well, as I got this idea because I spent too much time in university. I knew that in order to be effective as a policymaker working in the United Nations, which helped and advised governments on their policies, and the particular area where I worked was in governance and in rule of law and justice, I've realized that, I was using knowledge from multiple disciplines. But in the course of my own education, I got this knowledge sequentially. First economics, and then politics, then a little philosophy, and then constitutional law. And I realized that, you see, we get many things in our education system wrong. Firstly, we make it a very competitive system. We want every student to try and beat the other student and get the first rank and get unhappy if they get a second rank. But the moment you go out into the real world, the first thing that you're asked to do is to work in a team and to respect your teammates and not think that you're going to be superior to any of your teammates, right? So that's the contrast. So I felt that in the course of my work, that people with a more rounded education were more effective. And people who are more narrow in their education, they kind of acquired a certain, subliminally and a kind of arrogance that, they know very much, a great deal about economics. Usually it's economists. That's why when I got this opportunity of leading a school in this university, I decided that, we started with the masters in public policy. And so many of our students in the master's program in public policy come from engineering and science backgrounds. They haven't done social sciences. And they then have some difficulty grasping insights from the social sciences because their training has been in computer science, say, IIT engineering or whatever. And so then I realized that it's important, therefore, to have in the school a program where you first do social science and policy, and then you progress into doing the masters in public policy. Because then you'd find that, it's more enjoyable. You don't have to go to very many basics, spending a lot of time on basics, which people without this foundation in the social science, when it comes to public policy, have a difficulty, right? So it's based on these factors, my own work experience and the experience of teaching the MA Public Policy program, that we decided we needed a program that is foundational, that draws insights from a number of social sciences and is policy oriented. So that's the reason why we created this program. But it's a pity that, we haven't advertised it, or we haven't communicated this program and what I am saying and we get a large number of people joining the BA honors in economics, right? That's fine. I mean, it's okay, but I would say that, instead of that, many of those students, if they are interested in policy, see, if you're interested in becoming an academic and an economist and a scholar in economics, then it's fine. You start off, you have a passion for the subject, you've decided that, and you stick to it. But if you are the kind of person who says, okay, maybe in my life I'm going to make a difference to the lives of other people in some way or the other, then a program that is more foundational in the social sciences, like social science and policy, is the right program for you.
Thank you, sir.
Great. Dean Sudarshan, you've already given such a great and a very convincing answer. And with your due permission, I also would like to add one small thing over here, that be open to what life is offering you at this given moment. And what we say, that even hosh mein bhi, the josh mein bhi hosh mein rehna seekhna. And then you will see, when you are living in that way, in a mindful way, then you will see that each and every moment is a great opportunity. So I believe that your answer is already been given, and you see that in my life I've changed many jobs, from government to academic to corporate, and I'm still open that whatever life offers to me. And breaking your own mindset is very important. Like, for example, let me share one personal thing with you. I always kept the French beard for 23 years. When I went this time to Himalayas, I was doing a who am I exercise. Then I realized I am too much attached with my identity as a French bearded man. So I said, let me experiment that, and I did that. So be open. So you see the new railway minister, everybody is, the WhatsApp is full with that he is Wharton and, so much qualified, then he IAS, and now he is a minister. So who stops you? You can also become maybe minister someday, or maybe at a global level. So I just thought to add these 2 points. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions, dear students?
Well, you have to learn how to question. The first step in learning is to ask questions. So don't be shy, ask, because only a few. So yeah.
Yes, Mansa, please. Mansa ji? Yeah.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. So for me, I've had over the years a lot of exposure to kind of grassroots level activism. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to pursue this course, because I felt like it would give me a more broader, higher level view of what policy and how it affects people, how it works. But I also don't necessarily see myself going into high level policy making after this. And so, like, if you had to say what could be some things that people can take away from this course, even if they're going to work at maybe a smaller level, instead of, you were talking about UN and like ministries, but like, what about a smaller kind of organization? Do you see that as being something that comes out of this?
Yeah, well, that's a very good thought and question. Actually, we make a mistake in thinking that high-level decision makers deal with complex issues. And if you're working, say, in a small community, the problems are easily solved. But it's actually the other way, right? Problems at this, see, we are concerned about people who are poor, people who are malnourished, people who are undereducated, right? Now, it's not that they are somehow different from anybody else. They're not different people from someone who's heading a corporation and so on. It's just that they are in the wrong place. and with bad luck. But the problems they have are complex. One of the things you learn in this program is that you have problems which have fairly simple solutions, right? Economists would say that, for each issue, you have an instrument, right? Monetary policy, interest rate, you match an instrument to tackling a policy. Now that's very simple, right? It's a simple cause and effect kind of thing. Then you have some complicated problems, like Richard Branson conducting the space flight. That's a complicated and difficult exercise, but it's not complex, right? Complex happens when there are feedbacks and intertwining, and one decision leads to something else. You think this is the right thing to do, and then it produces a consequence that you had not anticipated. That's complex, right? So for instance, just to illustrate that, a difficult problem was how to get the farmers, and this is a mistake we made, getting farmers in Haryana and Punjab to grow hybrid wheat in order to grow more food in the country. We succeeded in the objective of growing more food in the country. We managed to get very cautious, conservative farmers who actually respected the more organic varieties and grow multiple varieties of wheat or rice into a kind of a monoculture. We managed to persuade them that this is good, you get a high yield, you get rich kind of thing. Now we are reaping the consequences of that decision, right? We didn't anticipate. So in a way, it's like this: the wheat crop responds to, once you understand the wheat crop, you know when you should water it, what fertilizer should you give it, what pesticides are needed, what pests are likely to affect it, right? This is all scientific knowledge. And you communicate that to farmers and they practice, right? Now, but if you say in the same village with the same farmers, why is it that you don't send all your girl children to school and get them to complete an education and do just what the boys do, right? Now, that's a complex problem because the issues involved there are multiple, right? They have to do with culture, beliefs, tradition, superstition, meaning well for the girl child, but somehow thinking that, sending her out is going to put the child at risk, rather keep the child at home, social conditions are not conducive, all of these. So it's easy to train that the farming community to take up hybrid wheat, but it's been very difficult to get that same community to educate all the girls in their families, right? So that's a complex problem. So I'm saying that when you do a course like this, you get an appreciation of complexity, and therefore you're best deployed in tackling that, because if as you go up at the higher levels, they are difficult and complicated issues, but it's only at the local level, at the grassroots level, that you encounter complexity, because you're actually dealing with people with their concerns. Suddenly there may be a pandemic that affects different people differently, or a flood or an earthquake, and you got to help a community cope with those things, right? So I therefore say that if you want to honestly ask me where can I use the knowledge from this program best, I'd say it's at the grassroots, because that's where the problems are challenging and complex.
Thank you, Dean. Really appreciate your response.
Thank you.
And Mansa, I also want to add
Where
one
are you
thing.
from, Manasa?
I'm from Bangalore.
Okay.
Well, I like the name. See, when I finished my undergraduate in Central College, Bangalore, in economics, I wanted to go and study in Mysore for one reason only, and that is because the university campus in Mysore is called Manasa Gangotri. So I was taken by that adjective, Manasa. So, but anyway, I ended up in the Delhi School of Economics.
Thank you.
Very nice, Mansa. So I just wanted to share that when I studied in IIM Ahmedabad, they were teaching courses like strategy, formulation, and implementation. So, you know that whenever anyone is getting a job from, even from IIM Ahmedabad, they have to do sometime, you know, the initial front level work and, you know, like even selling, hardcore selling and like that. So it is not about you teach something which is of use immediately, but how, you know, it is going to be beneficial to you in future. So that kind of, you know, the perspective is developed in the student. So one is the opportunity, you do not know when it will come, but the preparation is in your hand. So if you prepare well and then opportunity is there, and that is what you say, you are a lucky girl. And you know, read one this you may like to watch this one video, which if you've already done that, maybe Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish by Steve Jobs, the commencement address he gave in Stanford, and where he talk about how certain things will come back in your life. Like you were saying, the dots can be connected only looking backward. So I just thought to add these 2 points. Thank you. All the best. I also have lived in Bangalore for 3 years. I was director of Symbiosis Bangalore.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, dear students? Yeah, Nandini ji, please ask your question.
First of all, very good afternoon, Professor. So, when I was looking up on this program, so I learned that we can spend an additional year for research, I think. And so, what are the benefits you think I'll get if I spend that additional year, and if I can do that after my UG or after the master's?
Yeah, you can. You see that we have a fellowship program, and we also have this research opportunity. Now, the reason is very practical, you know, in a way. It is because, you see, many students wish to go and study in the United States. You know, they have a genuine interest in going there, and many US universities want 4 years of undergraduate education, right? That's not always true, because many of our students, the economic students who graduated from our school, have actually got admission in top universities in the USA, like Boston or Georgetown and Washington, even though their undergraduate program has only been 3 years. But nonetheless, since a good number of universities have this printed on their brochure, that you must have 4 years of undergraduate study, we thought we should cater to that and provide an opportunity of an additional year of meaningful and useful work, so that the student can then get a certificate for that or a diploma on top of the degree after 3 years, and be eligible to go wherever. So, you know, it's and then there's also the concern that, you know, you complete your undergraduate and you may wish to take some time to think about what you want to do next. You know, say if you do a program like this, you'll learn a number of insights from a number of different social science disciplines, and you may not be sure whether, you know, you want to specialize in the one or the other. You may wish to take some time to think about it. You may wish to join MA in public policy, but, you know, you may need a spell of time, and in which case you've done some internship, you found some interesting work. Say you went and worked with Bunker Roy in the Barefoot College, and you want to understand what renewable energy is all about, and can India move away from dependence on fossil fuels to renewable energy. So some such issue may catch your interest, in which case you could meaningfully spend that year learning more and be more in depth by doing intensive research in that particular field. So that's the advantage of that fellowship after 3 years. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dean.
Who hasn't asked a question? All of them must ask. We've got a few more minutes.
Yes, dear students, if you still have any question, it is a golden opportunity for you. It is looking like a Gurukula system at the moment where you are getting undivided attention from none other than the Dean Sudarshan at the moment. So please utilize this moment. Time is all yours.
Well, maybe they've heard too much of us, our voices, and don't want to hear more. That's understandable. So I think we could conclude now at this point.
Okay. Hemlata ji, anything you want to add?
Only to add that we'll have the career sessions and the start of engagements with the students coming in from the August onwards. So we will anyhow have a discussion and an open house to. I mean, like it will be a smaller team, so we can certainly connect over a quick call in case you have any questions regarding.
Right, I have something to say to
Yeah.
Judge Arora. Having heard me at such length, 1.5 hours, I think it's a great shame and pity that most students will not benefit from such an innovative and dynamic program. And I want to say to the admissions office, please understand that this is the best program there is in the General School of Government and Public Policy. And if you cannot get more students into the best program that we have, I don't know why you're there.
Sir,
Yes.
I would like to discuss that off the records as well, but I can tell you that there are some students who could not join today because of their traveling plans, and some are into their application procedure right now. So they're basically completing their applications, and then we will be scheduling their interviews in the coming weeks. So that is
Yeah,
all.
no, but I want all of the people who are interacting with the students to be able to explain to the students what is innovative and unique and good about this particular program. It's easy to say economics and political science, people will flock to those programs. But this program needs a bit of explanation. And anyone dealing with students interested in the program should be able to explain to that. And I'm glad you sat and listened to what I had to say about the program. But this must be communicated to prospective students. Otherwise, a good number of prospective students may miss out on a very, very good opportunity to be educated in a different way.
Completely understand that. And
Yeah.
the purpose of this session was just to invite the enrolled students with us, and we did not invite the applicants. So maybe we can do another
No,
session
I'm
where
saying
we
that
invite
you
the
and your
applicants.
staff in the admissions office must have a session with me to learn about the program.
Right, sir. We
And I
will
hope you
surely.
learned something about the program by listening to me explaining what the program is to the admitted students.
Of course. It was a very enriching session for me as well, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
So thank
Dean.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean. I
Thank
think
you.
it was a very great session. I learned so many things from you, as I do every time I meet you. And I would also like to request the students, if you feel that you are in the right program, so it is also in your own interest that you deal with, a lot of other great minds with you. Though JGU does not, depend on just the student tuition, we are a top university, and you know that we are a number one university in India, and also our certain schools are top 100 uh, as per the QS ranking 2022. But it will be in your own interest that if better minds and more people are there. So just thought to add this without any obligation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you, Dean, and thank you, everybody. Look forward to it.
Thank
Thank you
you,
so much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.